take it.
All right, well, let's dive right into it.
Yeah.
So, also because it's my song that we were playing faded out, so it's perfect timing. So, heck, we're going to be diving back to Severus's youth, and we're just going to pick up right from a pretty traumatic event in his life.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's going to be wonderful. So we're going to set the scene a little bit. You are 11 years old, young, incredibly so.
I'm very old, actually. Much older than many I've seen, you know?
Yeah, true.
Many didn't make it to this age.
What do you call it? Infant mortality, very high. When
I
the
was
constable...
more thinking about, like, the life in the streets, you know?
True, in the streets. When the constable had first told you that your hand was going to be cut off, you hadn't believed him. You knew the constable's son. You knew him. You were only an 11-year-old boy. The theft wasn't all that bad. You told him this, and a dozen more excuses. You'd cried for your mother as snot had streamed down your nose onto the rest of your face. You'd punched through the bars attempting to get at the bastards to keep you here. You everything you could. Then it happened. It still doesn't feel real, but the pain assures you that this wasn't some horrible dream or fiction. The constable would drag you from your cell, kicking and screaming. You'd bit one of them. He'd hit you on the head. Then, they'd brought you before Constable Lieutenant Calarius. You knew his son Marcus. Calarius had produced a large butcher's knife, and chopped. You saw your hand severed, and felt your arm go cold. But for the first time in hours, you weren't crying. You felt adrenaline pumping through your body as you stared in silence at the hand. Then the pain came. That pain which still courses through you 3 days later. Your parents haven't come to meet you. Your lips are cracked from dehydration. Your throat is hoarse from screaming. Your eyes are ringed red and bloodshot with tears. They have told you nothing of what further punishment awaits you. The only companion you have in your tiny cell in the basement of the constabulary is pain. Sometimes it's a searing pain at the site of the wound, enough that it leaves you in a ball clinging your arm, crying. Other times it's a sharp shooting pain that you think will kill you, but mostly it's a throbbing pain, a pain so mighty it leaves you debilitated. As you lay on the cell floor, clutching your bandaged arm, you hear boots clicking across the stone floor of the basement. It's probably them bringing another loaf of bread, or if you're lucky, a cup of water. You don't bother raising your head. Then you hear a voice, not that of Constable Janus or Antonius. "Boy, upright!"
I'll just silently get over it, just stumbling for words.
Yeah, your eyes blink a little bit. The person's holding a torch. It's not like you're totally prevented from seeing light, but it is dark down here, and it's the middle of the night, so the torch sort of, you have to blink through, tears welling up in the edge of your eyes to see the source of the voice. The source of the voice seems to be a middle-aged man. He's short for an adult with black hair, though there are patches of gray starting to come in. His features look hard, like they were carved from marble. His gaze is discerning, as if he's examining every square inch of your wretched form. His clothes are expensive looking, not the uniforms of the constables, nor that of the Legion. "I'm Lucius, and you are..."
Severus, so...
Severus. The man raises a hand and snaps his finger. You see you'd still been blinking the light, it was just too bright. And you see the constable, Janus, comes over and, sort of hits his truncheon against the bars of the cell. You instinctively cringe backwards, and the constable unlocks the cell door. Lucius comes inside. The constable places a chair down for him, and Lucius sort of waves his hand, the constable walking away. He looks you up and down again. "You're a scum-sucking, worthless addition to the Empire. You're only 11 years of age, and yet you've already managed to ruin every prospect available to you." Lucius says it with a matter-of-fact tone, like one may talk about the weather. "The legions will not have you. Even if you fled all the way to Salernum and changed your name, you have no hand. No craftsman would take a street urchin, and you certainly can't expect any gainful employment here in your village, as everyone knows your thieving ways." The man reaches into the folds of his clothes and produces a water skin, which he slides across the floor of the cell to you.
I eye it with suspicion for a second, and then I immediately hop forward and drink as much as I can.
Yeah, you are so absurdly parched that you just go through basically the entire water skin as quickly as you can. Lucius, the stranger, remains just quiet as you do so. Then once you finish, your mouth started dripping with bits of water that you just hurriedly tried to get in your gullet. He says, "Your family would not care if you were to die here. In fact, they may have been grateful to have another hungering mouth removed from their burden. You contribute no labor and only waste their time and resources. You bring shame on them and everyone you know with these actions. And yet, despite this, I think I may see talent in you. Not a unique talent. There are many other young boys across the all like you all across the Empire, but none of them have quite your level of experience. I'm not even sure if this sliver of talent I see is real. It may be a mirage, but that's why I'm here. You have two options. First, you sit in this cell. I have it on good authority that a priest has been sent for, meaning they are likely to execute you and then bless the proceedings. You are the deepest of sinners, after all, and perhaps deserve to be consigned to the divine flames. The second option is that you go to that window and wait. If you choose that option, you'll be out of this cell within the hour. Don't choose lightly." He stands up. He sort of whistles, and the constable comes sort of jogging over. The stranger, Lucius, looks down towards you again. You see his brown eyes seem to be searching for something in you, in your expression. But whether he sees it or
I look at
doesn't...
him with a scared determination. Just like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening, but I wanna live.
All right. The constable opens up the cell door. Lucius walks away, and you follow the constable, follow the constable with your eyes as he goes and escorts Lucius outside. And you see, after the stranger has exited the sort of wing of jail cells, you see Constable Janus eye you with suspicion, his left hand hovering over the handle of his club, as if just by talking to the stranger you become a threat. You can barely look at Janus. Every time you do, your hand throbs for what's left of it. Then, Janus turns away from you toward an interior room of the constabulary. "Antonius, why are we even letting that civilian walk around here? What do you think he has in the constable lieutenant?" Janus walks away, and you don't ever hear the response to that question as you're left in the silence of the jail cell. You can hear the sound of rain pattering against the road outside, and do you go to the window and sit there?
Yeah.
Okay. You approach the windows
If
of your
there's the
cell.
option other than death, I'm taking it.
Okay. The window is level with the road, meaning like your head is essentially level with the road as you're in this basement. A little bit of water streams down through there into your cell. It's the only liquid other than that water skin you've had for the last 3 days. But now you're able to resist sipping at the little streams. There's 3 large iron bars. You've tried many times to squeeze through them. If you were younger,
Where's
maybe
that the
7 or
water
8.
skin on me?
Yeah, the guy just left it in the cell.
Can I try to like hold the water skin against it, and the little that does drip down, just like fill it?
Yeah, 100%.
Or, like,
You can start
slowly-
getting these
okay.
little rivulets of water into the water skin.
Yeah, I'll start doing that.
Yeah, it's late at night. You don't know the exact time. Your sense of like understanding what day it is, what time it is, has sort of completely evaporated since you were brought into the holdings of the constabulary. You remember when your hand was cut off. That you know exactly when it happened, but everything else, when you stole from the nobleman that put you here in the first place, you don't even remember anymore. And then, as you gaze up towards the window, you hear a voice. "Psst, boy." The voice sounds like it's less than a couple of inches from the metal grate that forms your window cell, and yet you don't see anyone. And then, instantly, there he is. Lucius holds a small pouch of white powder in his left hand. He's inches from the grate. You don't know how you couldn't see him. And he gestures with his right hand for you to get closer to the window.
I look behind me. Is there anyone?
Yeah, you glance
observing
back.
us?
You see sort of the door separating you from the rest of the constabulary. You can see shadows flickering underneath the door. The 2 men are probably playing cards. That's what they've been doing the last couple nights. They don't seem to be patrolling the cells quite yet.
Right. I'll move closer to the window.
Yeah. Stay as still as possible. If you move even a little bit, this may not work. Lucius pauses for a few moments, and you try to get really still, and then he tosses his left hand towards you. The white powder that was in it flies, and you squeeze your eyes and mouth shut preemptively, but the powder never seems to hit your face. You simply open your eyes, and you can see Lucius is no longer there.
I look around.
Yeah, you look around it. You don't notice any. You look down. You see your hands. You see your chest. You look. You feel your face. There doesn't seem to be any of that white powder there. But other than that, there doesn't seem to be any noticeable change.
And I'm still in the cell.
Yeah, you're still in the cell.
And I see my arms and shit, right?
Mm-hmm. When you look down, you can see him.
Like I'm visible. Okay.
Yeah. The only very odd thing is when you reach up to touch your face, there is no powder there.
I'll whisper towards window. No?
The large wooden door leading to the interior of the constabulary opens up and light floods into the cells. You sort of squint your eyes, even though you're looking towards the window. It's still light coming in from the edge. And you see Constable Janus clearly making a tour of the cells. He looks into the empty one across from you, his leering gaze staring down into them, seemingly angered by the fact that they aren't occupied by some sniveling thief.
Wait, my door is open as well?
Yours isn't, no. Yours was closed when Stranger was exited. Then the constable, finishes looking at the other 3 cells and then finally looks at yours. But he doesn't look at you. In fact, you see a panicked look develop on his face. He begins to fiddle with the keyring on his belt and rushes towards your cell door. You hear a whisper come from the window. "Meet me behind the constabulary." So, Constable Janus is fiddling with his keys, beginning to unlock the cell door. He doesn't seem to see you, even though, you're not hiding at all, like you're just standing on a bench beside the window.
I'll try to be as quiet as possible and just stand right behind him, waiting for him to open the door.
Okay, roll a stealth check. You begin to move across your cell towards the the metal door that swings inward and outward of your cell. He's currently fiddling with his keys, trying to get inside. Look around. All right, you move close to the door. You keep a wide berth, knowing that when he flings open the door, it's going pretty fast. And sure enough, after he finishes finding his key, he opens up your cell door, flings the thing open, and you see him beginning to look around. He begins to mess with bricks, searching for any sign of your escape. And your cell door is open. The wooden door leading to the rest of the constabulary is still closed, but you can exit your cell.
I'll make my way out.
Okay.
Just like,
Yeah.
what do I have? What way would it be to leave the constabulary?
So currently, you are inside of the jail area, and we're going to do a really, really rough sketch. So there's your cell here, then there was another cell across the way, and then another cell, directly perpendicular. And then there's a door here. I'm going to make it in purple just so it stands out a bit. This door here is a large wooden banded iron door. It's the thing that really separates the jail from the rest of the constabulary. That door is not open. So you've gotten out of your jail cell, but now you're just standing in this hallway. And you currently don't have a key. Now you can of course see the key ring jingling on Constable Janus's waist, but he's pretty frenziedly searching your cell for any signs of your escape. So you could try to grab it, but it'd be pretty risky. You could also wait. I'm not sure what tactic you think would be most effective.
I'm gonna squeeze in one of the corners. What do I have? Have I seen what direction the door opens in?
Yes, it swings inward into the jail cell.
Where's I'm gonna stand next to where it swings open, not where the hinge is, but the other side.
I understand. So rather than the door
I'm gonna
opening into you, you'll
sit
be
in that
just to the
corner
side.
and wait, hoping that he'll call for help or something.
Yeah. After Janus, he begins to break bricks out of the wall. He seems to be searching for literally anything, panicking. He goes to the window, shakes the metal grate there. He just looks around, and you just see utter bewilderment on his expression. But after about a minute, Constable Janus goes to the sort of center of the cells and shouts out, "Antonius! Someone's gone missing. The little bastard, Sev." And you hear sort of movement on the other side of the wooden door. The wooden door flies open, just as you'd sort of expected. And all the doors are open now. So your cell door, the wooden door is open as well, and you can see 2 constables talking in very hurried tones in the middle of this sort of jail complex, trying to figure out where the hell you've gone.
If I can find if I can physically fit through without touching up against them, or without having to do any extraordinary stunts of sliding through the legs or some shit, I'll just press myself through the doorway and leave.
Yep, easy enough. You press yourself against the wall and then move past them. As you exit from the jail wing, you find yourself in the sort of mixture of dormitory and bedroom that is the recreation room for the guards. There's a card game that's on the table that they probably aren't going to finish tonight, as they're going to be searching for you. You see that there's the 2 beds of them. You see a bloodied wooden end table that you quickly avert your gaze from. Your arm
Wait,
sort of throbs.
what else is on the table?
Yeah, there is a couple of coins of various denominations, though nothing bigger than a silver. There's 2 spears, 2 clubs, and there's a shield. Now, you don't have training with any of these weapons. In terms of proficiencies, you're currently operating with a dagger proficiency, just for its everyday use, and then maybe like a short bow. Okay, yeah, you can quickly gather them up. I don't know where you want to mark this. You can probably mark it on like just a notepad or something. But you have 4 silver and 27 copper. And you don't have like a coin purse, you're just like holding this in your hand.
I'll empty the water skin. There shouldn't be much in there.
No, there's a couple drops.
Yeah, like I'll sip the couple drops and then throw it in there.
Yep, you do this all
Also,
one-handed.
with how much copper?
27.
7.
Doing this one-handed is not exactly easy, doing all this finagling, but you manage to achieve it and get the coins inside the stopper. What it feels like it takes forever, just because you can hear the sounds of the constables talking, but it doesn't take any more than like 30 seconds really to get it all done. It's not particularly quiet, but you don't need to be, considering how loud those guards are being. And as you finish putting those coins away, you can see that there's 2 more doors in this room. You know where they lead. One of them leads through the office of the constable lieutenant, and then there's a back door there leading out to the back. Or there's another door which leads to the front door, the whole constabulary.
Man, I'm sorry. You said 2 or 3 doors?
2. One which leads to the office of the constable lieutenant, and then the back door, or just the front door.
Well, I mean, front door, of course.
Okay. You move through the sleeping area, just keeping your eyes focused on the prize. You hear the sound of the 2 constables talking like louder and louder. It's becoming a bit of a shouty match, probably blaming each other for you escaping. And emerging out to the sort of a little bit outside of the constabulary. So you've exited this room, you're in a hallway, and then you can see the front door. At the front door, sort of leaning against the wall, just doing like a sort of watch over the town. You can see the back of the constable lieutenant. He is barrel-chested and broad. He has a little bullseye lantern held in his right arm, and he just seems to be looking out towards the town for signs of mischief.
Alright. He's standing like right in front of the doors.
Not directly in front of it. So there's the hallway that you're in, then there's the front door, and then there's this sort of like open floor plan patio. That he's on that open floor plan patio. So if you open up the front door to exit the constabulary, he'll probably hear like the squeaking of hinges, or just see the door open beside him.
Wait, so how do I see him then?
There's like this open floor plan, so it's the walls are not like completed. There's like this opening. This central hallway is. Have you ever seen like Alhambra in Spain, where they have like those large archways that are like make the shape of a room? But yeah, they're not like full walls. They're like they're open in the middle.
Is it big? Is the opening big enough that I could just squeeze through it instead of going through the door?
Most certainly, yeah.
Would I be loud? Like, how close would I be to him when I do that?
If you go the farthest side of the porch, you would be like 8-9 feet away. So as long as you don't slip or something on the wet wood, you should be quiet.
I'll try that then.
Okay, make me a acrobatics check. As you vault over this short little stone wall, and yep, you keep your feet stable. You don't slip on the slimy wet wood, and you are on a dirt path outside of the constabulary. You can see the whole squat 1-story building. You can go around either side of the building. I'm not wearing
shoes, right?
You are not wearing shoes. You got your bare old feetsies.
Yep.
And which I suppose it doesn't matter too much. You just go around the side of the constabulary around towards the back. Out back here, you can see, your feet crunch across sort of rocky soil. It hurts, considering you don't have shoes, little pebbles stabbing into the bottom of your foot. And you can see a large boulder, about as tall as you, that's been behind the building since the rock slide this summer. And seated on the stone, you see that stranger, who called himself Lucius. His eyes are glowing, a dim white which seems to emanate and fill the area around him. You can hear a shout from inside the constabulary. It seems as if the pair has finally gone from sort of raised voices to full-on shouting at each other for your escape.
And he, does he see me?
He doesn't seem to.
I'll approach, and then I'll just like, call out to him?
Yeah, after you cross a certain threshold, like as you're walking towards him, around 30 feet away from him, his eyes raise up and he seems to look directly in the eyes. His mouth opens, he speaks a soft word, and you feel you hadn't noticed, but the rain hadn't been hitting you. It'd just been sort of like rolling off your skin. But now, within seconds, within a second of him speaking, you're instantly drenched as rain spills onto your clothes and your hair and your face.
Is there any sort of like overhanging of the building that I could have got under to
There
protect
is.
myself from the rain a bit?
Yeah, there is, but
Like
Lucius
next
is
to him,
still
I
in the
mean.
boulder and he's going to wave you to come over.
Right, I guess I'll come over.
Yeah,
Okay.
he produces a dagger from the folds of his clothing and place it, like grabs the blade and points the hilt towards you.
Wait, so he gives me a dagger?
Yeah, he's holding a dagger in your
I'll,
direction.
I'll with with the blade towards me?
I don't know, hilt.
Oh, well, I'll take it.
All right. You take
Assuming that
the
it's meant for
yeah,
me
you
to
take the dagger from him. He says, "Have you ever killed a man?"
I don't think I have I?
Nope, not yet.
I've probably tried, like injured someone, like to escape or something. But no,
Most certainly. Yeah.
I'll just like shake my head.
He nods. Again, there seems to be no noticeable change in his expression of anything anything that's happened so far. And he just nods and pops off the boulder, and he begins to take long, lanky strides, like away from the constabulary, sort of what seems to be a roundabout way to exit the town. And he just continues to walk, seemingly expecting you to follow him without saying much.
Okay, I will do that then.
Yeah.
Am I still? Oh no, wait. You said the water is no longer like going off of me, right?
No, it's no longer rolling off your skin. It's just drenching
Alright,
you.
okay, so I'm gonna assume I'm no longer invisible. to the
Safe
people.
assumption.
It's seeming that's somehow related.
Seems so.
Because, you know, I don't know, fuck all about magic.
The he keeps up a pretty intense pace. This Lucius. He has long legs. He's at least almost double your height, so he can just take long, lanky steps, and you have to practically jog to keep up with him.
Wait, when you say double my height, how tall am I and how tall is he?
You're 11, so you're like 3 foot something. Like you're short.
Okay,
You're short
yeah.
leg. So he's only
Yeah,
like I think he's
absolutely.
5. I think he's 5'10", 5'8", somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But he's a grown adult man, so you guys begin to move away from the rural town of Necelium. It's an agricultural community. It's where you spent your entire life. One time, you went.
Where is it in the map?
It's in the province of Celeria. So, for Echo's context, you guys had passed through Celeria several times when going between the capital and the frontier. It's like sort of stereotyped as an agricultural province for like country bumpkins and that sort of thing.
Oh.
The furthest away you've ever gone from home is a farmer's market in Corlane with your father, but that was only a day's travel by cart and then a day's travel back. And as you look back at the town, you can still see smoke rising from chimneys as the village sort of just carries on their life without you.
Do I
You're
see
maybe
the house of my parents?
yeah, you can see it. It's a squat little one-story farmhouse. There's a field out back and a little paddock to the side of it, which contains 3 goats, which you know the names of. That you were, and there once was a pig there, but you had to slaughter it last winter for food. You sort of
I
just.
like that thing.
You guys are maybe a mile away now. You've been keeping this like half jogging, half walking pace to keep up with him, and you hear Lucius's voice. I wouldn't worry. If you aren't up to my standard, you'll be going back here soon enough.
I'm looking at the standards.
He just looks at you and then continues at his quick walking pace. He doesn't tell you where you're going. He doesn't tell you for how long you'll be traveling. So even as your lungs burn and your feet scream in pain and your arm continues to throb, you just follow because what other choice is there?
Yeah, internally I'm contemplating whether there's any point in trying to like. This guy seems suspicious, but he's helped me. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, is there any way maybe I should just run away from him? But I'm also thinking, A, if he wants to, he can easily catch me, and B, there's no point because this guy seems to be beneficial to me.
Yeah. You guys have been walking along the dirt road away from the town for some time. You're not really sure the distance you actually can gauge pretty well just by looking back and seeing smokestack, but The time is really starting to get rough. In fact, you find yourself almost falling asleep while standing up, sort of going into this like meditative state of just moving at a quick clip. And then, in a single smooth motion, Lucius steps back, grabs your arm, and yanks you into a bush on the roadside. The bush thrashes your face, and you squeeze your eyes closed. And then, as you sort of tumble into this bush and Lucius presses you hard onto the ground, you hear the clattering of cartwheels in the distance. Do you just stay quiet?
Just look at it. And then, sort of, because I guess I'm kind of like used to hiding shit because I'm sleeping around and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think after like a second I'll understand
Okay.
and keep quiet.
Yeah, you get back onto your feet and sort of open up your dust, get the mud and shit out of your eyes, and look, and you can see
Yeah, I'm gonna assume my stump fucking hurts.
Oh yeah, with your with the stump. You can see Lucius looking out towards the road like a predator. He's coiled up, a spring ready to pounce at any threat he identifies. His legs are like he's in this sort of squat stance so that at any moment he could leap out onto the road. He has a shiny object in his right hand. It's dark enough in this bush that you can't quite see what it is, but your guess is like a short sword or a dagger. Though it has a silvery, almost like blue shininess to it that you hadn't seen before on a weapon. And then, after several long moments, you see a familiar donkey come into view. The owner of the cart is Tarquin. He's the town's banker. Baker, like bread. He rides a donkey named Old Shanks, and whenever you guys had farmer's market, Old Shanks would help other folks in the town bring their goods to and from wherever the market is being held that year. And you can see, traveling along this road, Tarquin looks very tired for staying up so late. But you can see his cart is filled with flour. That flour which has turned into many sweet treats and bread and things that have provided you a rare glimpse of warmth in your otherwise pretty shitty town. Then, you sort of directing your gaze from Tarquin, you see out of the corner of your eye that Lucius is looking at you. Could you kill that man?
Oh, think about it for a second. I'm hurt. How old is Darkus?
Tarquin's in his late 50s.
Late 50s. He's tired as fuck. He's not expecting an ambush at all. I'll look at him and say, maybe? Why would I? He's always been nice.
No reason. Lucius nods, and he keeps one hand, like, on your right hand shoulder. He's not pressing hard, but there is, like, a very noticeable strength there. Like, he's keeping you inside this bush and, waiting. Slowly, Old Shanks and the cart trundle past you guys. They get within about 6 feet at one point. You can smell the pipe smoke that Tarquin smokes during his long travels. And then it trundles on by. Lucius does not pounce. And Tarquin and his flour will be able to make more treats for the people of the town. Lucius then, sort of without warning, after about a minute, emerges from the bush, back onto the road, and begins to walk along it again. Boy.
Yeah. I'll pull him.
You guys walk along the road for a couple minutes. What sort of education have you received? Do you know the classics?
The what?
Do you know the name of the first emperor?
Aurelian Sol?
He looks at you. There's no noticeable change in his expression, but you can tell that he's noting this. What governmental structure preceded the current empire?
Wait, do I know this?
You know what Hecko knows. You and Sever on the same wavelength in this regard.
The kingdom?
He looks at you and says, and who is your current provincial governor?
Who's the town speaker?
The town speaker? Oh, that would be Quaestor Tarquin. Oh, Tarquinius. Quaestor Tarquinius.
Tarquinius?
He looks towards you again, know that in his head.
I don't know anything.
What is the greatest battle in Imperial history?
I heard the Emperor killed all the monsters in the mountains once.
I see. So you've received no formal education then. Are you literate?
Am I?
It's up to you. He's a farm boy. He largely spends his time stealing from others and doing whatever he can to survive. His parents have essentially no resources to support him. So
I'll
it's up
shake
to
my
you.
head. I'll say, I remember some of the words because I see them so often and people tell me what they mean, but no, I can't read or write.
This village of yours, does it have a cleric?
Does it?
Nah, just a priest. No magic here.
Do I know what the difference between a priest and a cleric is?
That's a good question. I think we'll just keep it where Heko and Sev know the same things. So, I think whatever you know.
Well, I'd assume, well, when you say Heko, what do you mean by that, right?
I mean, I mean, whatever you know, your character knows. So in this instance, if you know the difference between a cleric and a priest, then so does Severus.
Yeah, so if I know I don't know, Pythagoras theorem, like Severus does?
Well, you know, okay, maybe not
Yeah,
everyone. In terms of Valeros knowledge.
yeah. Oh, well, in that case, I'll say, like, we have a town priest. I don't think that's the same.
No, it's not. I see. And it's not as if he says like, "Oh, we're done." He just stops talking, and you guys continue to walk along the road. There's a distant lightning strike. Thunder sort of rolls across the area. You've never been out in a thunderstorm like this. There just never was a reason to. You'd always find some cubbyhole to hide in, whether it's an abandoned barn or a not abandoned barn or anywhere else that you can sort of squirm your way into. And you are getting really cold. Like your teeth are beginning to actively chatter. Though Lucius seems to have no real reaction, and he will just wordlessly reach into his backpack, withdraw a black cloak, and toss it at you.
I'll catch it and wrap around myself, and I'll hand him back his water stick.
He takes it, places it in the backpack, and then you guys continue to march through the rain. At first, you sort of knew where you were going, like vague directions. You guys are going southward. You have a pretty good mental compass, but in the darkness, now losing sight of the village, you have literally no idea where you are. And then, at a seemingly random point...
In the darkness, you don't have a torch, I assume, then.
If you do, well, Lucius did, but it's not currently lit. He had a lantern when he came to your cell, but he doesn't have it lit right now. The only light you guys have is the limited stuff of lightning strikes and then the stars.
That's pretty scary to me
Yeah.
as a kid.
Yeah, the only thing you see is the outline of Lucius walking ahead of you in the darkness.
I'll just whisper to him. How do you know where we're going?
It's not so much we're going anywhere. We're looking for someone.
What would they look like?
You don't need to worry yourself about that.
Okay.
Then he stops, like, immediately, and you have to sort of, like, catch yourself. You've gotten really into the rhythm of walking. And he points towards an area off the road.
There. Get in.
Get in what?
He-
Do I see anything?
You just see sort of like a bush and a hedge, and he sort of slides off. The road is upraised compared to the rest of the area, so he slides down the road.
I'll hide inside the bush,
Yeah,
I guess.
the two of you guys get onto the nearby forest floor. You don't see, this time you definitely don't hear anything. Before you heard like the clattering of wheels long before you saw anything, but here, all you can hear is the rain hitting like leaves and the road and all the other things, and you crouch amongst the low-lying, leaves and branches and twigs of the forest floor. Lucius remains there, not moving an inch, just primed. And then you feel something on your foot. You look down and see a centipede crawling along the length of your foot, beginning to move up your shin. How do you react?
I'm gonna roll a wisdom saving throw.
Okay.
Ooh. I'll panic for just a second, and then I'll. I assume I hold because I don't have like a belt or anything. I'm holding the dagger in my hand.
Yep.
So I'll try to like use the use it to just like swipe it away, not attacking it or anything.
Yeah.
Not forcefully, just kind of like.
Yeah,
nudge
you
it
can
away.
just scoop it up with the dagger and fling it away. It's a pretty trifling
Yes.
thing. It's not some giant centipede. So it just goes away and makes no particular noise. Lucius doesn't even seem to aware of what just transpired. You see his eyes glued on the road. You really can only see like the reflections of them because of how dark it is, but there is just this remarkable level of singular focus to him. And then
Are his eyes still going?
no, they're not glowing anymore. After about a minute after you started getting soaked by rain, his eyes went back to normal. And then you see 4 silhouettes moving along the road. You can say more about them like visually because you can't hear any of the noise. Like you can't hear the clinking of armor that is certainly coming alongside them. In fact, you really can't hear anything over the sound of the rain. But they seem to be marching in a diamond formation. They're armed and armored, and you recognize one of them. It's not until he gets much closer, but the lead one, he has that sort of stocky build, the same as his father. It's Marcus. He's one of the older boys who joined up with the legionary recruiter who passed through the town a year before. But he looks nothing like a legionnaire. His cloak is ratty. His armor doesn't look well maintained. He has a spear, not a sword. What could he be?
Are the rest of them like similarly ragged?
Yeah, you can pass your gaze onto the other 3 people with him. You don't recognize any of them. They don't seem to be from around the town. But they have a similar look of, like, one of them in particular, an older man, maybe in his 30s. He looks much, like, grimmer. He has plate, which is probably the most expensive armor you've ever personally seen, but it is dented and cracked. There's dried blood on the pauldrons. It looks like something, taken off a corpse.
I'll look at him. Look at Lucius questioningly and whisper as quietly as I can. Deserters?
Yes. But he doesn't even look at you. He just keeps his eyes glued on the road. They get closer. They seem to be laughing and joking. You can see their mouths moving and their postures and stuff. But again, you just can't hear it until they get to about 100 feet away from you. So, that's pretty close. A third of a football pitch. And
Yes, American units.
no, that's a EU unit. Okay, football pitch. Thank you very much.
What the fuck is football pitch? Oh, you meant like soccer field. Okay.
Yeah, soccer field. I was trying to translate to EU, and you translated back to NA. That's not fair. But yeah, they get 30 meters away, so pretty close. But you can finally hear what they're saying over the rain. Marcus is sort of the one speaking and says,
I really can't wait. It's been ages since I've had a good night with a woman. Plus, she'll be cheaper than any fishmonger in a major city.
and another one of the men that you don't recognize speaks up.
Aye, she'll be free if she doesn't want her father's head smushed in.
And a wall of laughter sort of lifts up from the group. And while Lucius's expression remains unchanged, you see a sort of reflective object now in both of his hands. Daggers.
Has Marcus always been like a dickhead?
He's the son of the constable lieutenant, so he always had this sort of air of like authority to him. But you'd heard that the Legion bred that out of people. People don't survive like that in the Legion for long, or they'll get their ass kicked repeatedly. People die training to become Legionnaires all the time. So you're shocked that attitude could have survived even the most cursory of training.
Well, deserted, so maybe a hit or something.
Yeah.
Or he had friends who protected him. Who knows?
They move past your position. They never get closer than 10 meters, and they begin to travel along a road that's perpendicular to the village. And once they're maybe 40 meters out again, and you can still see their silhouettes moving away from you, Lucius whispers, "Do you recognize any of those men?"
I'll point to Marcus and say, that's Marcus. He's the constable's son. He signed up for the Legion last year.
They're bandits now. They've killed, as far as I can tell, at least 12 people so far.
I mean, what, 12?
They primarily
I knew
ransom.
I knew Marcus was not a nice person, but he killed 12 people.
He looks towards you. It's not the killing that's wrong. It's disrupting the Emperor's peace. But we're going to fix that. He gestures his head towards the dagger in your other hand, and he stands up and exits from the bush and begins to move
My
along
other
the same
hand, you
road.
mean my hand?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. And he begins to walk along the road, the same one the deserters did.
Alright, I'll follow him, I guess.
Yeah. You guys aren't being particularly stealthy, but you don't have to. You guys are, hundreds of meters behind them. It's just you can see their silhouettes through the darkness. If they looked back, maybe they'd see your
Are they
guys'
carrying?
silhouettes.
I'm assuming they're carrying torches, right?
Yes, two of them are carrying lanterns, and one of them is carrying an actual, just a basic torch. But the two with lanterns, they're like those hooded lanterns where you can close them, and they're currently closed. Seems as if they're trying to move somewhat stealthily.
Okay.
But it didn't work out too well for them, obviously.
Yeah.
And as you guys
This is a good shot.
as you guys press through the night, once again get into that pace, that rapid and pace. Your feet. Luckily, you can't see them in the darkness, but you are certain they are like bloody, ruined messes. These are not nice paved roads.
But I'm
These
so
are country
cold, I can
roads.
barely feel shit at this point.
Yeah. You can't even feel your feet. Luckily, you can still feel your hand. But
And
yeah. Eventually, though, you see the four silhouettes walk into just a wall of woods. It's really only by the torch that you're able to follow the path they take into the woods. And Lucius continues you forward until you reach the point where the deserters entered the woods. And he gets more into a crouching prone position and says, "Follow me. Don't try to keep up with them. I'll be able to keep an eye on them, but you just focus on keeping pace with me."
dude, I'll look down like in shame now. It's like, did you lose anything?
No.
Okay. And I'll follow.
Alright, roll a stealth check. You guys move forward, and for all of your many pains and inadequacies and failures that Lucius made sure to remind you of at length, stealth is not one of them. You move very quietly. You stay crouched, and sure enough, you lose sight of the deserters pretty rapidly. You're crouched so low to the ground that foliage alone completely destroys your ability to track them. But Lucius seems to be able to, and you just keep following him. He's this sort of shrouded dark form in the night. Occasionally you catch sort of those reflections of his daggers, and sometimes that reflection on his eye as he stares forward. But mostly you're just following this black form moving between leaves and not making a single sound. And you keep up with him pretty well. And eventually, it slows. Lucius seems to have seen something that interests him, and he slows you down by quite a bit. You guys are nestled in a hollow of a tree where there's a little root, these large trees at the root roots of the tree that establish this almost barricade, though it's 6 inches tall. It's not particularly large, but when you're on your belly, it obscures your view. And Lucius crawls upward and looks over the tree root. He seems to be looking at something, and then he falls back down and gestures with his head for you to do the same.
I'll do so.
So, you see light. There's a bonfire burning in the middle of a sort of... It's not even really a clearing, but it's more so just a gap between trees. You can see a ramshackle campsite. There are 2 tents, a cooking pot, 3 posts that have been pushed into the earth, a large donkey, a cart full of supplies. The cart had... All the crates on the cart bear the Imperial Cairo emblazoned on them, meaning they somehow are related to the Emperor, or at least one of his departments. And then tied to 3 posts in the middle of the camps are what look to be hostages. An older man, maybe in his 50s, a man in his 20s, and a woman of similar age. They're all wearing travel clothes, but the old man looks like he's been severely injured. There's blood caked across the top half of his face, and he seems to be unconscious. The young man and woman both have little signs of serious injury. You've heard of banditry slowly returning to the Empire, out in the east on the plains or near the Deadwood frontier, but you never thought it could happen this far north or this close to home. Lucius's head joins you, peeking over the root. He whispers, "What do you see?"
Three captives. Old man, woman, and a boy. Man, young man, and a boy.
Roll a perception check.
Oh, sure. It's just a straight wisdom there for me.
Yep.
Why does your background sound like you have Yogi there?
Why does the what?
Oh, nothing. I was just wondering why your background sounds like you have Yogi in the background.
Oh.
Your roommate sounds a bit like Yogi.
That's funny. There, beyond the hostages, there are, of course, the deserters themselves. Four of them around the campfire. Marcus seems to be, talking loudly, but again, you can't quite hear him. You guys are hundreds of feet off. You're only able to see them because this one position is uphill of the campsite, and as you look down, their bonfire basically exposes like all of it. The great plumes of smoke rising up from this bonfire makes you think how like these people haven't been caught already. It's not particularly stealthy. You notice as you sort of look that this probably wasn't something super important that the deserters stole, because there's no guards here. Like there's no real soldiers that were protecting this, or all these deserters would probably be dead, and this wouldn't be the types of people that they've taken captive. That's the first sort of thing that you notice. The second thing that you notice is that there is a trap. It's like a super obvious one to the point where you don't even know if it's really a trap, but within the sort of camp area, there is a hunting trap, a wooden one with its like teeth pulled back so that if something puts weight on the center, the teeth will lift up and stab whatever it is in the leg.
So I'll say to Lucius, there's traps. And I'll find them out.
He looks at it. The log. He points towards one that the deserters are sitting on. It's false. Looks to be a hiding spot. They probably carved out a section of it so that they can hide things. And then he sort of points a single finger and you sort of trace it. He points towards a tree. It's an aspen that overlooks the rest of the sort of opening. And you can see a leg there, hanging from one of the branches. There's a fifth deserter up there. He's straddling the branches. He has a crossbow.
Much, I presume.
The fifth one was hidden well.
I'll try to follow his gaze and like just be kind of surprised. How did he even spot this man?
Yeah, you see the legs sort of hanging from the branch, so like the legs, because he's straddling it, so his legs are visible. But it's not super visible. It's on like the edge of the clearing. It's pretty dark compared to the rest of the background. So if you were like looking and you just sort of caught it, you could. But it's not impossible to see. It's just difficult. But now that you see it, you can sort of trace the outline of mentally like exactly where the person would be. And you can't see the crossbow from where you're currently looking. It's just obscured by leaves. But from his perspective, you must be able to see some sort of weapon.
Is Marcus among the ones next to the campfire?
Yeah.
Okay.
You continue to look, and then Lucius pulls his head down from the little observation position and tugs you down gently as well. He reaches down and makes physical contact with you for the first time, sort of squeezes your hand that's holding the dagger, or your one hand. Boy, these men are evil. I don't mean it in a flippant way either. The Emperor's light has brought us into a period of peace where millions of his subjects are able to live prosperous lives. Unfortunately, for men like you and me, that cannot be our purpose. We cannot enjoy that peace. It is our duty to maintain the peace of the Emperor. Men like those out in the camp are no longer men. They have shunned the light and become inhuman. They are rapists, thieves, and murderers.
Some of them are good people, I suppose.
He
I was making a joke.
He does a little trolling. He says, Imperii aut mortem. It means empire or death. It is our creed. There is no action that can be done in pursuit of the empire that is too base or evil. And that is why. He squeezes your hand again. That is why you must kill that crossbowman. The dagger you have striking him squarely in the throat, and he sort of presses his thumb into the middle point just above, like, near the base of your neck. Striking him there will cause him to bleed out quickly. He seems drowsy, so the stabbing should be easy enough.
How do I get up there?
Climb. You want to make a long way around the camp so they don't catch you, but from what I heard about your thieving exploits, you should be able to find a way.
I'll look at it. Think real hard. Is it possible to make that climb with only one hand?
It's significantly more difficult. You'd have to do almost all lower body stuff, or like really be doing some crazy body weight things of like pulling yourself up with one arm. It's possible. It's just going to take all the strength you have remaining. I mean, you haven't really eaten a substantive meal in 3 days.
I'll look at him and say, I'm not sure I can do that. I'll try it.
His eyes sort of stare at you. You can see the like glints of them.
You can do it, and you will.
He moves from sort of a prone belly position to a crouch. Says,
I'll strike when you do. We'll clean out the camp.
and he leaves you in the sort of hollow of the tree and begins to move. And within maybe like 6 or 7 steps, he just disappears in foliage around you.
As you suggested, I'll have to circle the camp in order to get to the best point where I could climb up.
Yeah, make me a survival check as you begin to navigate your way around.
Yes, and
Without
I'll try
light.
to keep special attention to the ground, of course, because it's going to be difficult. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good roll.
You begin to move out, keeping an eye towards that central flame. That bonfire is the only axis that you're really pivoting on. You let your feet carry you forward one step at a time, but you're primarily focused, honestly, on just being in the right position. You're constantly like looking over the bonfire, looking at your current spot, comparing it to where that crossbowman is. Because the worst thing you could do is get spotted by him before he spots you. You will certainly die. You cannot survive a crossbow anywhere, really. And so you find yourself not really thinking about where you're stepping. And make me a dexterity saving throw. So for you, it's going to be your dex mod plus 2. Because NPC sheets don't have saving throws on them. Oh, it is.
Oh, they do.
It's built in. That's so sick. I didn't think they did. I mean, I did it, so I should remember that. But all right, you hold your foot back, and at first you don't realize what you're avoiding stepping on, and then you see something sort of writhe in front of you. A snake. It's not a big one. It's just a sort of gardener snake, the type that you'd find in the farm. You're not particularly frightened of snakes, but you had almost stepped your foot squarely on it. It's not really. I mean, it is kind of blocking your path. It slithers away, but in the direction that you need to go.
I'll it's slithering in the direction I need to go. Is it dangerous?
These are not poisonous. No, they can bite you, but they won't poison you.
Are they scared of people?
Yes.
How
As an adult, like they're like not even the length of your forearm, and they're like skinnier than a finger. But for a kid, I mean, substantially larger than that. In comparison, relatively.
Can I do the same thing I did with the centipede, basically just oh wait, actually even better. I'll is it within grab range of me? Like,
It's slithered away now to some bushes, but you could go and try to find it.
Oh, I don't want to try to find it. I guess I'll just ignore it if it's not blocking me or anything.
Well, there you go. All right, you just continue forward, and with your eye on the prize, you've now gotten closer. You're about 80 feet away from the tree, and you can look up, and now at this angle, you can see exactly what you were looking for, which is you're underneath the leaves now, so you can look up at this angle and see the whole of the deserter. He has this sort of brigandine, which is like studded leather, armor on that's dirty and torn in many places. Even the metal reinforcement pins have been broken in some places. He has a crossbow that's like been tied to the branch so it can't fall off. And he seems almost to be like dozing off in this upper post. He has a large quiver of bolts like wrapped around his waist, and his legs sort of straddling it. And he seems to have. He must be spending a lot of time up here because he has rope securing all of his equipment and himself to this upper branch. He's about 20 feet up off the ground.
I'm gonna take a guess and say that while I can use a dagger to stab shit, I haven't been trained in throwing one, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, then I'll have to... what's the dagger hilt wrapped with? Is it like leather wrapped or is it just metal hilt?
Yours is, it's nice. It's a good dagger, good quality. So yeah, it's leather wrapped.
Right. I'll put the leather wrap between, like, hold it between my teeth, and then try to make the climb.
All right. Yeah, you're because the branch goes out so far, you're actually pretty far from the main camp itself, so probably not stealth, but certainly acrobatics as you begin to pull, like, grab lower branches, jumping and pulling and tugging, and a lot of body weight stuff. All right. You leap up off the ground and grab it with one hand. The pain of your soreness from days of rotting on that cell floor are sort of getting you here. You manage to pull yourself up onto the branch, and then just sit there for a few moments catching your breath. You peek around the trunk of the tree, and can see the deserters carrying on their business in the camp. Marcus is talking to the woman captive, though she seems to have no interest in talking to him. He's just sort of talking at her. And you sort of pull your energy together again, dagger still in the mouth, leap up one-handed, grab the lower branch, pull yourself back up, and now you're going to need to rotate around the tree. So you're going to have to rotate about 90 degrees, and then you'll be on the same branch as the guy, so you'll be, a couple feet away from him. So how do you want to do this final maneuver / approach? Do you want it to all be one smooth motion? Do you want to, jump there and hope that you can be stealthy about it?
Sorry, what was that? You mean
So you're on the opposite side of the tree right now. Yeah, so right now you're on the opposite side of the tree of the guy, but this isn't some crazy big tree. It's just like a normal tree. So you could reach around an arm and get to the far side of the tree. But he's on that branch on the far side, so how do you get to the branch he's on? And once you're there, are you just going to stab him instantly? Are you trying to stealth up to him and hope that he's asleep and doesn't notice you on the same branch as him?
I'm on my own branch right now. I'm
Yep,
assuming.
on the opposite side of the tree. Yeah.
Is the branch approximately the same size?
The one he's on is significantly thicker.
Alright, does the branch sway heavily when I'm moving on the one I'm on right now?
The one you're on can easily bear your weight when you're on the point closest to the tree, which is where you're at right now. But if you went out onto the outermost part of the limb, it would probably snap.
No, but does it sway right now?
Oh, does it sway? The one you're on, yeah.
When I move. Okay. And it's significantly thinner. So I'm wondering that if the one he is on, will it sway immediately as soon as I set foot on it?
Roll me a nature check, which is based off intelligence.
I don't have any proficiency in that right now, so... Oh, that's 6.
Alright. Just, bait your gut instinct tells you that... maybe it will.
Yeah.
Because all it would take is a slight vibration to run through the branch, and then you would glance back.
Yeah, and vibrations are very easy to notice.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll try to... Can I slide around the tree, and then as soon as I set foot on the other one, I wanna just leap forwards and instantly slash towards the
Okay.
throat.
So one smooth motion.
Well, not slash, stab, yes.
Alright, then. I think this will be a compound check. So we'll get acrobatics, obviously. Then I think we're going to get some sort of initiative, which I think is just flat dex. So then that. And then obviously the attack. So we'll start with the acrobatics as you try to do this sort of leaping motion where you leap around the tree, grab it by your arm, and basically just steady yourself on that far limb.
Right, Aaron Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes, me.
Alright,
Not bad,
you
not bad.
grab the branch you're on with one hand. At a point, you just have to trust God and leap. And so with your handless sort of stub arm, you grab the trunk or sort of press it hard against the trunk, and then you slide around the tree. It's mostly what your legs can do, and you push yourself up and slide around the tree and grab the branch. And as you manage to pull yourself up fully, and then you begin to rush forward. Now, it did shake the branch, so now we've rolled dex, and this is going to be against the guy on duty, so I'm going to roll for him. Alright, I rolled for him. Alright. With the 12, you rush forward, and now get to make your dagger attack, because you acted before him. He's looking, he was sort of nodding off, and now he whips his head around to see where those vibrations on the branch came from. But he hasn't really done or said anything yet, as you begin to rush forward, dagger in hand. So, just make an attack.
Allah! 18.
That
That's not
hits.
bad at all. Do I do this? Yes.
Alright. You thrust your dagger forward. Is not the action of a trained assassin, but one of a scared boy. You put all your strength behind it, and then you feel it hit something. Then it slides, smooth as butter. Your eyes are closed. You're barely aware of what has taken place. Then you feel liquid begin to splash onto your hand. It's warm. And then you hear gurgling. You force your eyes open, and you see the man's face frozen into a look of horror. He's barely a man. He has the start of a mustache growing on his face, but he can't be older than 17. His eyes stare at you, glittering and jittering back and forth, shaking, staring into yours. And then, after just a second, something fades out of them. They go from a man into flesh, and the flesh continues to bleed, but it's no longer a man. You've killed someone.
Oh. Yeah. Not forgetting that.
His body is still sort of like locked into the branch. Like his upper torso goes limp, but his legs are like tied to the branch so they don't fall. His equipment all remains on the branch, and other than this steady stream of blood that begins to drip from his throat down onto the base like of the tree, there's no sign that he's been killed. And none of his colleagues, they're all seeming to begin to tap into some of the stuff in the supply cart, which seems to be booze and food, and they're beginning to
He has
drink.
a crossbow, right?
Yeah, there's a crossbow there.
Is it loaded?
It's not currently loaded, no, but he has a whole quiver of bolts like on his body.
Well, when I say is it loaded, is it like, would I have to like pull it back and load it?
Yeah, you'd
or
have
is
to
it, like,
winch it.
Okay, which I can't with one hand.
Yeah.
Fucking tree branch. No
You can,
shot.
if
No
you
shot.
if you were tied to the tree, you could probably use your foot to do it, but if you do it right now, you're definitely falling off.
Yeah. So does he have anything else?
Yeah, you begin to
to
feel up
use?
his body for his equipment. He has a short sword on him. He has a couple of coins, mostly coppers. You find a piece of paper sort of folded. It seems like you can't really see it because you're just feeling around his pockets in the dark, but you can feel a paper that feels like it's been folded a lot, like unfolded and refolded a lot. Has all those creases on it. And then lastly, he has a small little copper holy symbol of Aurelian soul around his neck.
The money comes in a pouch, I'm gonna assume.
The money is what?
In a pouch.
Yes, he has a coin purse.
Yeah. Can I take the coin purse itself and like, do I have a belt? Can I like, or do my
Yeah, you have
carry-
pants on. You don't really have a belt, but you can take. He has a leather cord that he's using as a belt, and you can just take his and tighten it to
Yes,
cinch
I
it
like
down
that.
as hard as you can. And then you can put the little coin purse there. It's 27 copper is what you currently had, so 27 plus 14, that's 41. Did I do that right?
27 copper?
27
what
is
he
what
has?
you had. That's what you had. Plus 14.
No, I had 4 silver and 7 copper, which I all gave to Lucius.
Oh,
it was in the water
okay. Then
skin.
you now have 14 copper and 1 silver.
Copper, 1 silver, in brackets, ouch.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. I guess it's... How high up am I?
You're about 20 feet above the ground.
Okay.
Lucio said he would act on, He said he would act at the same time as you, but you've killed this man and he hasn't done anything yet. So, where do you think that leaves you?
Is Marcus still harassing the woman?
Yeah, he's talking at her. He's he's drinking, and he seems to already be a bit tipsy. It reminds you a bit of your father.
I'm gonna assume he's getting a bit handsy or something.
Yeah, certainly.
He does seem like...
The old man's still
From what he said
unconscious, though.
earlier,
He looks
yeah.
really fucking injured.
Yeah. Where's the old man located with in relation to them?
Yeah,
Is
so
there
there's a
anywhere I could
bonfire,
sneak
and
up
then the
and
3
free the old man?
stakes. Yeah, there's the bonfire, and then the 3 stakes are like right next to it, like not burning, but like closest to that. And then there's this separate area of the camp with a cooking pot, and then that's where the deserters are. Marcus is the only one that's not over near the cooking pot. He's near the captives, talking to the woman, talking at the woman.
Wait, that's amazing. Well, in that case, can I pull out my dagger out of the guy's throat, where I'm assuming it's still lodged?
Yeah. As you do so, a couple last little spurts come out, and they splash onto the ground beneath you. And you can see one of the deserters sort of raises his head and glances over. It's just the sound of like water hitting a leaf, but it's sort of a unique one. And you see his head like lift up and look over towards the base of the tree you're at.
Fuck.
He stands
I'm
up.
gonna
and,
press against the tree.
all right, you
like against the
roll me a
branch
stealth
side
check
to
as you
hide.
press yourself as flat as you can against the branch. All right, you pull your legs up, so you're no longer straddling the branch. You're only on top of it. Your arm is wrapped totally around the branch, but your legs are like flat. So there's no part of you that's like pushing out from the branch other than your arm, and you need that to hold you or you're gonna fall. And then you hear the guy, and you can sort of hear his words as he says,
One sec. I'm gonna go make sure that we get him a snack.
And he walks over to the tree you're at, and you can see the blood from the guy's throat fall down and plop onto this guy's head, but you must assume it's like rain or something else. And he wraps his knuckles against the base of the trunk, and you can see him looking up into the darkness. You can see him with your eyes, but he can just sort of see the slumped over form of his own compatriot. And he wraps his knuckles against the trunk and says,
Pius! Are you even awake up there?
Pius! And he wraps his knuckles against the trunk harder, and a bit more liquid sort of splurts down from the neck of supposedly Pius down onto the head of the guy. And you see, over the course of about 2 seconds, you see his face slowly transform from like kind of annoyed that his friend isn't waking up to realizing,
Realization.
liquid
yeah.
just hit my head. He slumped over, and then as his face transforms into like surprise and shock, you hear rustling at the edge of the campsite, and then a blur of movement. Like a cat pouncing on a mouse, Lucius flies from the underbrush in a direction towards one of the deserters still sitting at the campfire. You see a flash of something reflective, and the deserter drops to the ground. He screams, and the dagger protrudes from his chest. The other one near the campfire follows suit, and before you can even move from your position on the branch, Lucius has sprinted across the campsite and slammed a dagger into the side of the head of the man at the base of the tree. Like he's now impaled through the head against the tree. You are frozen in awe and horror. The three dead men gurgle and croak and moan in agony on the ground. Their throats were all targeted. The last man, Marcus, you can see he's sprinted over towards the supply cart, and he's rummaged amongst the things, pulled out a spear, pointing it in the direction of Lucius, who is just ripping the dagger out of the side of the man's head. Marcus says, "Please," and you can see a wet patch beginning to grow in his pants, and Lucius just begins to sprint over. There's this flash of movement, and then Marcus falls to one knee, his left hamstring cut open, bleeding onto the ground. His spear falls from his hand, and you see Lucius's arm coil around Marcus's. There's a sickening pop, and Marcus becomes a gibbering mess on the ground, sobbing in pain, begging between heaves of his chest, and Lucius looks back. His face was cast in deep shadow by the fire. Blood is splattered across his nose and cheeks. In about 12 seconds, he dispatched all those in the camp, and his eyes seem to be contacting yours, and he waves towards you. Like waves for you to come to him, not waving at you, but like waving for you to come to him.
Fuck. I guess I'll move.
Yeah, you start sliding down the...
Yeah, you...
And in my head, I'm just like repeating over and over, they're not humans anymore, they're monsters.
Yeah. You're vaguely aware of two of the like conscious hostages screaming in shock, but you're mostly focused on getting down safely from the tree. And by the time your feet are back on solid ground, you can see that Marcus is like just on the ground, just like a sobbing, gibbering mess. He's clutching his broken arm. His face is just covered in tears and blood of his compatriots, even some of his own from the splatter from his hamstring. And Lucius has grabbed Marcus by the scruff of his shirt and dragged him over and sort of plopped him onto the ground. You guys are on the edge of the campsite. Lucius seems to have no real concern about the hostages. And then as you approach, Lucius holds up Marcus by the back of the neck. Marcus's eyes wildly shake around in fear until they level on you. You see utter confusion, contorted terror, and agonized pain. And then the voice of Lucius
Any
tears...
recognition?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why he's confused. He seems to recognize you instantly. He just doesn't understand how what's happening makes any sense. And then Lucius's voice sort of tears through your thoughts.
I, Tullius Gaius Marcius Perusian, blade of the Emperor, charge you on behalf of the Emperor. You are charged with sedition, treason, murder, theft, aiding and abetting the enemies of the Empire, and plotting to overthrow the Emperor's peace. You are sentenced to death. Marcus looks up at Lucius in confusion. Lucius doesn't look at Marcus, he looks at you. He places a finger on Marcus's throat. Execute the writ of death, boy.
I'll look at Marcus.
Marcus looks towards you. You remember catching frogs with him. Snot runs down his face, tear fills his eyes. He blubbers and begs. Severus, please! I don't know what's happening. I haven't done anything, please!
And I'll close my eyes, and as I move my dagger towards the point in his throat, not actually slashing, just preparing to.
Yeah.
And I'll just repeat quietly to myself, out loud. I'll say, Marcus is dead. He's a monster. This is not Marcus. This is not Marcus. Then I stab while still having my eyes closed.
Yeah. It sinks in and the blubbering stops, and you just sort of push until the hilt hits something that it can't push through. And then you don't really open your eyes, but you hear a thud, and then you feel a hand on your shoulder. You hear Lucius's voice, your eyes are still closed. I'll deal with the
And I'll
hostages.
turn around, not looking at Marcus again.
Yeah. You open your
I'm
eyes.
assuming there's like blood over my hands, and I'll just
Yeah.
throw up.
Yeah, you go over to the edge of the camp and begin to throw up what little stuff was left in you. It's mostly just water. And you can hear the sounds of Lucius freeing the hostages, but they're like asking him all sorts of questions, like the woman saying, "Thank you. Where did you come from? How did you know we were here?" But Lucius seems to have, or Tullius, if that seems to be his real name, he seems to have no interest in answering their questions. In fact, you sort of hear him as you're wiping away at your mouth. You hear him say,
Go about your business. The Emperor has served you.
and you hear sort of footsteps coming behind you and then a hand on your shoulder, and you feel yourself sort of being led away from the campsite, and Tullius says,
They can fend for themselves. They have their cart. They have their horses. They'll be fine.
you hear sort of a man's voice carry towards you guys as you walk away from the camp. Wait! Where are we? Where have they brought us? And it just sort of fades away. And Tullius and you walk through the woods. He keeps a hand, like, on your shoulder the whole time. He rustles your hair a little bit.
I've worked with many servants of the Emperor in my time. I say this with honesty. You could one day be one of his greatest. You're a wretch still, but I'm certain that the potential I saw in you was real. So, after I give you your gift, you'll have another choice to make.
You guys are pretty close to the edge of the woods now, and he sort of stops and turns towards you fully. You can see with the light of the stars his face, that hardened, chiseled expression sort of carved out of marble. It's softened just a little bit. And he kneels down so he's eye level with you. His clothes are splattered with blood, not unlike yours. His hands coated in the blood from those men's throats. He reaches into his clothes and produces a piece of paper with strange silvery text on it. He takes his right hand and wraps it around your stump. It hurts. It is a deep, deep physical hurt. The pain radiates up through your arm to the rest of your body as he makes physical contact with the stump. Yeah, you don't even try to stifle. You just let out a scream in pain, and he just grabs harder when you begin to, like, sort of move a little bit side to side, and he begins to speak. His words are otherworldly and nothing like anything you've heard before. Your arm begins to tingle, and then it begins to sear and burn. Your screams only get louder. Your vision clouds with tears. But then, you feel something. You aren't looking. You can't see. Your eyes are too blurry. But you feel your hands. You feel your hand in his hand, and you blink away tears, and you see that your hand is pink, raw, like the skin has been rubbed away by sandpaper, and yet your hand and your fingers are interlocked with his.
My missing.
Your missing hand, which is no longer missing.
Yeah, I'm just looking in complete awe.
This is not a gift from me. It is a gift from the Emperor for your service. Those who follow his righteous path and enforce his holy will and defeat his enemies receive rewards like this. I cannot make you a blade or a weapon if you don't have both your hands. But now, you have your choice, boy. You can return to your little country village. I'll make sure the constables forget about your recent crimes. You can return to your family, your daily routine. Or you can come with me. I cannot promise you'll enjoy what we do together, nor can I promise that you'll even survive. But if you do, you will be a weapon to the Emperor, just like me. You'll be allowed into a brotherhood, but you must do it of your own will.
Just standing there, like, completely traumatized. They just killed people.
Yeah.
Just standing there, looking at him wide-eyed, just thinking. This is new. By the way, we can very clearly hear that part.
Oh, really? That's unfortunate.
Yes. Just making sure.
Thank you.
And I can look down and I close my eyes, I think, and I can't tell. In reality, probably only like a minute passes of me thinking. But in my mind, I'm thinking about my whole life. I'm thinking, this man seems powerful. This man seems, for my standards, rich even.
True, we got them fancy clothes.
So, could he be any less? And I'll think back to the men I just killed, and I'll think, from this day onwards, I'm not killing people. There are no people. There's duty. There's the Empire. If I can have my small little corner of peace, I'll do whatever. So I'll just look back at Tullius and give him a determined nod.
Tullius nods, and he sort of stands up back to his full height. With his right hand, he hustles your hair again and says, "It's a good decision, Severus. I think we can go far together." He pats you on the head. And, well, you know where this ends. This ends with Severus. While he may not be very similar to this 11-year-old boy, his mind says remarkably similar. And that is all she wrote. A brief look into a younger Tullius, a younger Sev turned into Severus, and a weapon of the Emperor. It's a quick one. I was assuming it'd be about an hour or two. But I hope you enjoyed a look into a younger Severus and how he became who he is today. All right. Well,
I'm surprised by. I guess we changed from a Ring of Regeneration to a Spell Regeneration.
Indeed, yes. Some small changes.
Yeah.
Well, we have the
Yeah.
Well, we got the Yogi one next week, so there will be that. And I will.
Would you mind showing me real quick on the Empire map where this village is?
Solaria, yeah. So we're here, but we are going to this area in the. It's Sedalia. Solaria is a different place in the Empire. This is the town that you're from, Necilium. The town of Necilium in Sedalia. It's in this section called the Rhegian Foothills. Yeah, it's a pretty large agricultural community, but it's certainly not like an actual full-blown city. And yet, I think the understanding is that he essentially hasn't been back there since. There's no real reason why he would be sent there.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm not sure he really wants to confront his past either way.
Yeah. So more so, just steer clear there. Well then, I hope it's not particularly enjoyable look back. It wasn't a particularly enjoyable childhood, but I hope that you enjoyed. And I'll talk to you next week, or I guess whenever we have our main session again. I think that's in like 3 weeks. All right. Well, I'll see you then.
Wait, one quick question.
Yep. One quick question.
It doesn't have to be answered now. I'm just wondering, when you prepare when you have like longer descriptions and stuff, do you like pre-write these so you can read them off, or do you just have like let's say bullet points that you of make into a sentence, or do you like write out a full-on monologue?
Well, real quick for stream, we'll be back next week with Yogis.